Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Metal Roots. Tonight, I am thrilled to have with me Mr. Jack Starr, who some of you might recognize from bands such as Virgin Steele, Jack Starr's Burning Star, a bunch of solo projects that he's done under the name Jack Starr. There was also Guardians of the Flame and a whole bunch of other host of bands that you've been in. So we're just kind of going to get your story, Jack, about heavy metal and why you got into it and what makes you tick and all that good stuff.
Sounds good. I love that. And I'm ready.
Right. Well, first question, we're going to go way back. So just tell me a little bit about Jack Starr growing up. I know you're from the New York area, but where'd you grow up and what kind of things were you into as a kid?
Right. Well, I actually grew up in Paris, France.
Oh, wow.
My father was in the U.S. Air Force, and he was stationed over there. And I was actually born in France, even though I was American because, I was the child of a serviceman. So we came to America when I was 10 years old, just in time, to see the Beatles coming up and the Stones and all that. And kind of, made me want to pick up a guitar as well, which I did.
Yeah, that's awesome because you kind of answered, my next question, because I was going to ask you just what are some of your earliest memories of music and sort of what got you into it? But it sounds like maybe it was the Beatles and Stones and seeing all of that.
Plus, the fact that I grew up in France, I was exposed to a lot of French music and classical music and accordion music and also American music because, my father worked on a base, an Air Force base.
Okay.
So we had a lot of American music because, the GIs didn't really want to listen to French music on the base. So it was a little bit of both.
Okay. Well, I assume, just side question here, but growing up in France, like I said, till you were 10, so do you speak French pretty fluently then?
Yeah, actually I do. And my mother and I would always speak in French. She spoke English, but, it was more difficult for her to speak English. So I figured, let me keep my French up and practice. So in the house, my friends would come over and they go, "Oh, what's that strange language you're talking with your mom?" And I said, "Well, it's French," and so it was kind of cool.
That is pretty cool. Have you been back there quite a few times since your childhood?
A couple of times, not as much as I would like to, but I'm hoping that I'll actually, get to go back and actually play in France since I've played in other countries in Europe like Italy and Germany and Greece. So there's no reason why I can't play in France also.
So you talked about seeing the Beatles and the Stones and being there at the birth of sort of all that British invasion and the rock there, but do you remember what the first album was that you bought?
Actually, I do remember it. It was the first Rolling Stone album, which I think it was called 12 by 5, meaning 12-inch record, 5 guys in the band.
Okay. Now, along those lines, when you got old enough to maybe go see your first rock show, something that you wanted to go see, do you remember the first concert you went to?
Yeah, that was a lot later than because I don't know why. I mean, there were kids like, that were my age that were like, 13 years old that were going to see the Beatles at Shea Stadium and all that. But I never really did that. So we're going to really jump into the future.
Okay.
Into 1970, which was the year I graduated high school. And my first concert really, I think was Black Sabbath.
Oh, wow. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
Yeah. And that was pretty cool that you got to see that original lineup in the early days.
Absolutely.
So when did it kind of click with you in terms of, I think I want to play guitar. You were kind of drawn to it as an instrument, when did that kind of click for you?
Well, for me, I was really into like the British guitar players, like Eric Clapton with Cream, Alvin Lee with 10 Years After, in America, Leslie West with Mountain, and those guys.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool you mentioned Leslie West because, that's not one you hear necessarily as a lot of people cite as an influence, but,
Yeah, well, the thing with Leslie is he was from New York and I was from Long Island, New York. And he was actually kind of on the border with Long Island. He lived in Queens.
Okay.
So Queens is like the kind of like the dividing line between Long Island and New York, like New York City, the five boroughs and so on and so forth. And I did get to see Leslie a lot. Like I would see him with his cover band. They were called the Vagrants. And even then I was really impressed with just his attack. I mean, the guy was so intense, and it just made me want to like play with that kind of intensity. I wanted to rip into the strings, and that thing that people attribute to Zakk Wylde, which is the harmonic overtones, or Leslie is the guy that I first heard do that.
Okay.
And when I heard him do that screaming, thing that he would do, that I wanted to learn how to do it, and I did. I learned how to do it, and I was doing that way, way back, and I got it from Leslie West.
Yeah. So at what age was it when you kind of picked up a guitar and started? Did you take lessons or anything like that?
I think I took one lesson, and I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I should have stuck with it. I don't know. But for me, I didn't want to learn. They had these books back then called the Mel Bay Guide to Guitar Playing. And it just wasn't for me. I couldn't relate to those songs. The weird thing is now, 100 years later, I have a much more open mind than I did back then.
Sure.
Now, I would actually sit down and look at this now and analyze it and try to see how I could better my playing with it. But back then it was basically like, oh, screw that stuff,
Yeah.
I didn't do with it, So I wasn't super open-minded back then. You grow into it, and it's a good thing. Also, it's really good to be diverse and have diverse tastes, I love metal, but I also love blues, and I also love classical music, and folk music, Latin music, even. Just
Sure.
the whole spectrum, and it's great if you can combine a lot of that in your playing.
Well, I think especially with metal, when you look at the European metal, they've always had sort of that classical influence. Yngwie kind of brought it to the forefront, obviously, when he sort of emerged on the scene, but some of those bands have that classical influence. Richie Blackmore had it in Rainbow, and then, he's got that folk element and stuff too. But yeah, I think you saw that a lot more with the British and European bands than you did the American bands.
Oh yeah, and I love that about their music, and I love it about Zeppelin. Zeppelin had that Celtic influence, which you would hear on songs, like Over the Hills, or Stairway to Heaven. Even you would hear that Celtic influence. They had the flute going in the beginning,
right?
So I really enjoy that, and I think like Gary Moore had that on that album, Black Rose, that he did, where they covered the that song, that Irish drinking song. You know which one? I can't. I'll think of it later on.
So when you first started to get into music, at what point did you decide, okay, playing guitar is fun, but I want to take this in a more serious route and do something with this?
Well, I lived near a really big club. It was about 5 minutes from my house, and the guys that owned it, they were nice guys to me because I was a harmless kid. I was 15, 16 years old. I wasn't a troublemaker. I just wanted to hear the music, So they were cool, I'd show up there, and they had these two awesome, bodyguards that both spent time in prison, and they would be like, "Go ahead, because it would be like 10 years after we'd be playing there, or all kinds of bands like the Byrds." Bands that you would never see normally, and so anyway, that really got me into playing. And I told them, I said, well, by the way, I've got a band, which I really didn't, but it was just me and a couple of friends of mine, were jamming. And then I said, listen, guys, if we could just get like a set, we could probably open up for some major bands, like, for instance, Blue Oyster Cult's going to play there next month. We might just be able to do that. Can we get like 8 or 9 songs and not suck? That was the part that was important. So anyway, to make a long story short, I asked them if we could open up, and they were cool about it. They said, yeah. And, and I think one of the guys said, are you guys decent? And I said, yeah, we're not going to suck. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
And we were. I mean, we, relatively speaking, you got to remember the average age of the band was like 17, and we're opening up for Blue Oyster Cult.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't even think they were called Blue Oyster Cult, or I might be wrong, or it might have been their first or second gig, because previously to being Blue Oyster Cult, they were called the Soft White Underbelly.
Right.
And so anyway, so we did the gig, and it was great, and I have a great souvenir of that, and talking to the guitar player, who was a great guy, Don Rosner. I forgot he has a nickname. Wait, Don. Anyway, I call him Don Rosner.
Yeah.
Okay, that's his real name. And I remember him actually taking the time, because they would include a lot of covers. Their first album on CBS hadn't come out yet, and they were doing like covers of like Born to Be Wild, which I think they actually even still do now.
Really?
And A Whole Lot of Love. So we're backstage, and I go to Don. I go, hey, you did that great. Can you show me how to play the solo? So he goes, yeah, it's really easy. So here I am, like I think I was 18 or 17 at the time, and he showed me how to play it. So if I play it correct, it's thanks to Don.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But that's how we got our start, basically, because of this club that was really close to where I lived.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, especially like you say, growing up in New York, I mean, you probably had so many bands come through, and so many opportunities to see bands.
Mm. You name it, and I saw them at one point,
Yeah.
And it was great. Like Cream, seeing Cream with Eric Clapton was a kind of like a life-defining kind of event, because I hadn't seen anybody that loud before. And it's funny because Clapton is now wanting credit as being one of the pioneers of metal. But don't ask me why all of a sudden he wants. But I read an interview, and really he should, because I mean he was louder than Black Sabbath, and
Really?
yeah, they had like 2 or 3 Marshall stacks on his side of the stage. It's loud.
Yeah. Well, in terms of like your family, so is anybody else in your family musical, or were you kind of the first to decide you wanted to play an instrument?
Well, my mother actually plays the violin. She passed away 2 years ago at the age of 106.
Wow.
Yeah, she lived a long time, and she was a great influence on me musically, because not only because of the French music, but also the music from Turkey, which was where she was born before her family migrated to France.
Okay.
So then I would get some of these kind of like Mixolydian, Middle East scales, listening to some of the music that she listened to. And my father was listening to, 1940s big band music,
Sure.
Glenn Miller, stuff like that,
Yeah. So were they supportive when you decided you wanted to kind of pursue music and go after it?
I have to say my mother was. My father was not supportive at all. No. This is a bad idea. How are you going to make money? what are you going to fall back on, and so on and so forth. And he never came around.
Really?
Not even after I had albums out or anything. Nope, he really didn't come around. Whereas my mother was always solidly behind me. She bought me my first guitar, you know, and it was a great guitar too. It was a Gibson, like a 335. No, actually, no. She bought me a 345, which is even higher up. They didn't have any. The Sam Ash Music Store, they didn't have any 335s, which was what I really wanted because I was into Clapton, and Clapton was playing the Gibson 335.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was great. She was always really into, you know, and my mother had a French accent. So, you know, she would tell her friends, oh, my son plays the guitar like bling, bling, bling. Yeah. So it was great, you know. And yeah, and I got really good musical influences from her.
So when did you sort of go towards, you know, heavy metal, hard rock for your personal playing style? When did that kind of come about?
Well, that's, you know, that's weird because I didn't really start really playing metal till like 1978. 79, around that time. I really liked the new wave of British heavy metal. That, you know, I didn't really consider like Zeppelin and Cream and all that metal. So I guess it might have been an early form of it, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so I started listening to the, you know, new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden, Angel Witch, Budgie, Diamond Head, you know, that kind of music. And I met some guys where I lived in a little town, Long Island, called Huntington. And I said, hey, you know, there's this really great music happening in England right now. And you should check it out. Do you want to hear it? So, yeah, okay. So I said, well, let's come over to my house. I'll play you some of it. And the first person that I played it for was a guy who was like, I think 10 years younger than me. And he was a drummer. He was very good. And he was open-minded, you know. He goes, wow, this is cool. You know, we listened to like Angel Witch and all that, Iron Maiden, you know. And I said, well, would you be into starting a band with me? You know, I've got an idea for a name, which is kind of like an Iron Maiden kind of name. You know, it's got light and dark, you know, like Black Sabbath, you know, Led Zeppelin, Iron Maiden. I said, my idea is Virgin Steele, you know, and boom, right away it clicked, you know.
Yeah.
He was like, wow, what a great name. And he totally got where I was coming from, you know. And so we started the band, and then it wasn't difficult starting the band as far as the music, but finding the singer was hard because I wanted a guy that could hit, you know, the high notes, you know.
Sure.
You know, and so we finally found someone, and we started recording our first album. You know, we were doing like little gigs and everything, but my plan the whole time was to get an album out and, you know, sign to a label, which we didn't do right away. We put it out on our own label, but which was cool. I think we pressed up like 2,000 copies, and they went really quick. And we approached a couple of labels. And I think we might have actually been approached by one label even before. And from there on, we signed to a British label called Music for Nations. And they also signed Metallica and Merciful Fate and a bunch of bands. But we were actually their first signing. Virgin Steele was MFN #1.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, Let's talk a little bit about Virgin Steel to the transition to, I guess, next level for you. Then was the next thing your first solo album in '84?
Yes.
Okay.
After Virgin Steel broke up, or after I left Virgin Steel, I decided I needed to do a solo album and get the best possible people. So that's how it came about. I found myself without this band that I had worked so hard, to get the name out there, which we really got the name out there in a big way back then. I mean, we were in Kerrang and Sounds and New Musical Express, all these Burn from Japan. So I said, I gotta get a solo album, and that's what I did.
Well, I will agree, like you say, with getting the name out there, because I remember hearing about you guys sort of in the underground back then when I was a teenage kid, and seeing you in magazines, ads for the album, things like that, or hearing the name, and I'm like, I gotta dig into these guys to find out who they are,
Right.
So, that was the early days when Metal Blade was putting out like the Metal Massacre compilations, and there was always sort of underground compilations of bands, and so it was just I'm like,
which we were on. We were on Metal Massacre 2, I think. Yeah. And then we were also on the US Metal Volume 2.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I remember those. I had a couple of those as well.
Yeah, we were on there, and which actually helped us a lot, Virgin Steel, because when we put out our own independent album, we were calling up record stores, and say, hey, do you want to buy the record? And a lot of them were saying, well, we don't know who you are, blah, blah, blah. Right. But then after we had the US Metal appearance, it became a new thing where we could say, okay, well, you might not know who we are, but the guitar player can't suck that badly because he got picked to be as one of America's, best guitar players on this, on this album, US Metal Volume 2. So then that helped us really, as far as the record stores were concerned, because then they would, okay, all right, we'll take a dozen. Mm-hmm. Call up another store, oh, we'll take a dozen. And before we knew it, we were like in 40 out of the 50 states. The records were there.
Yeah. Now with US Metal, was that Mike Varney that did those?
Yes.
Right, Shrapnel. Okay, I thought so. Yeah.
Right. And
because he was kind of out there signing all those guitar players in the early '80s and stuff, the different shred guys, and
And I found out about it really just reading Guitar Player magazine. So I'm reading Guitar Player, and there was an ad, and it was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek ad, like, do you think you have what it takes? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, I figured, well, I just made a demo with this band that we just started, like, I don't know, 6 months earlier. Why don't I just send him one, And sure enough, he called me back and said, hey, you want to be on the album? And it wasn't like a big deal, really. I mean, it was in a way because it was validation, okay, mm-hmm. I'm not the only person that thinks I might be okay, okay, this other guy in California thinks my playing is okay, or good enough to be on this thing. And so it was nice. Any kind of validation, it's nice, no matter what it is. Like someone pats you on the back after you hung up a picture on the wall and, like the girlfriend or wife comes over. Oh, you did that great. We're men. We love that. We love to be validated,
Well, so then you put out the first album, and then things kind of start to pick up for you because you had Out of the Darkness in '84.
Right.
But then in '85, you moved over to Burning Starr, kind of just changed the name a little bit and put out an album, Rock the American Way, in '85. And then you had releases in '86, '87, '89 with Burning Starr. So why the change from solo artist to Burning Starr?
Well, I really wanted the longevity of a band. I really mm-hmm. wanted people that were going to champion the thing, and feel like they were an equal member I treated them that way. I mean, yeah, I started it, but if they were loyal to it, then I was loyal to them. And so I thought it was a good thing. It's kind of like, Black Sabbath, they all sign the songs. And I thought that was a great idea, that they did. And I think it helped them to a certain extent, until maybe they had the problems, with Sharon, and so on. But yeah. So that was the concept behind that,
Okay. And you've had Burning Star going ever since. I mean, there's been some gaps there, but you've consistently been putting out music. You've got, what is it, 8 albums with Burning Star?
Actually, yeah, 10 really. We renamed 2 of them into Burning Star albums.
Okay.
Yeah, we renamed Strider,
and
we turned it into like Burning Star Strider Project, and we renamed the one called Guardians of the Flame, and that is now Burning Star 6, I believe.
Okay.
Burning Star 6, Under a Savage Sky, and that was really done because there was really no reason to not call them Burning Star albums back then, and when I got on with Joey DeMaio's label, Magic Circle, Joey told me one day, he goes, Jack, you created a lot of goodwill with the name Burning Star. You didn't put out crappy albums. You put out good stuff. Why not continue to use that name?
Yeah.
Because you created this goodwill. And I thought, well, that's kind of him to say that. And it made sense. He's a pretty smart guy, Joey DeMaio. So
yeah,
okay, I like that idea, and that's what we did. So there are 10 official Burning Star albums.
Okay,
even though 2 of them did not start their life, as Star albums.
Okay. Well, no, I'm glad you clarified that because I kind of went on the internet and was just looking at albums, and I know you've done six under Jack Starr as solo records. Like I say, you had the Guardians of the Flame, the 2 with Virgin Steel, and I know there's been some other odds and ends in there as well. But yeah. So, obviously, you've had a long career in music, which in this day and age is kind of a rarity. So, what do you attribute that to? I mean, what's kind of you wake up every morning and you're like, I'm going to keep doing this. What's sort of your driving force to kind of keep making music throughout all these years? And even with the, incredibly kind of cruddy music scene we find ourselves in nowadays with the music industry, how do you keep at it?
Well, that's a good question, because sometimes I wonder about it myself. Like, what the hell am I doing? Putting out album after album. None of them have gone platinum. None of them have gone, well, some of them could have gone golden in certain territories. But anyway, it's kind of like the person that doesn't know when to leave the party. But the truth of the matter is I got really good at it. And I'm too old to start anything else at this point, if I want to be a car mechanic, it's too late. If I want to be, whatever. So I got good at it. I can play metal well. I can write great metal songs and play great metal guitar. And I love doing it.
Yeah.
It's a high. It really is. And anybody that is honest will tell you it's a really nice high to get up on a stage with a nice, PA system pumping out, the decibels and a responsive crowd, when you have that, that makes it all worthwhile. So yeah, that would probably explain why I'm still doing this insanity at my age. But also, honestly, I don't feel, it also keeps you young, really, which is kind of a cool thing, Like I was answered. I know there was a post from Biff Biffert of Saxon he had just turned 74. And so I wrote, I go, thank you, Biff, for being older than me. I need a couple of guys like you that are actually older than me. And he wrote back and he gave me a thumbs up, but it's nice that there are guys like him and that are still doing it. And, there are guys like in Accept and Kiss. I heard Kiss is going to be doing some shows.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, they still sound great. You got to love Kiss. And same thing with, bands like Accept and all these bands, from Europe where, because we're all in that same age range,
Right.
And I just want to keep doing it. And I'm happy that there's an audience, for me. And so I'm really grateful because, people can be, what's the word I'm looking for? No, I don't want to say flaky, but just not necessarily loyal.
Sure.
It's like, oh, here's the new flavor of the month, and
Right.
and I've been through a lot of different flavors, that have come up, and I think I'm at the point now, that there's like 3 stages of fame. The first stage is, you're new, you're exciting. Oh, we got to check out Virgin Steele. They're the hot new band. Okay. A couple of years later, somebody comes along and they're the hot new band. So you're no longer that. Mm-hmm. Then you're in stage number 2 where whatever happened to that guy, Jack Starr, didn't we see him like in Guitar Hero and Kerrang magazine and in Burn magazine from Japan? Yeah, is that guy still playing? Oh, whatever happened to him? Then the third stage is the stage that I'm at now. It's like, damn, that guy is still at it, man. That's so cool. He must be like 100 years old, and I love it. It's like, yeah, still at it, still doing it, and still kicking ass.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you brought up a lot of bands that, I saw Saxon about a year ago. I saw him last May. And, they're still tearing it up, and Biff's still tearing it up at 73, 74, whatever he is now. And, to me, they're bringing it harder than they brought it in the past, in their advanced age, if you will say that or whatever. They're making some of their best music and most powerful music they've ever made now,
And that's what I intend to do when we get out there and start promoting and playing this album, which will happen. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised because it's going to be heavy. There's a couple of really heavy songs on the album. The first 3 songs, they're heavy, very heavy. Hand of Doom, very heavy. Into the Pit. Mm-hmm. The title alone, tells you what to expect. It's, I'm very proud of the album. Yeah. But I don't want to sound cocky, so please cut me off.
No, I don't think that at all. I think as an artist, you should be proud of what you made. Obviously, you wouldn't make it if you didn't like it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, in terms of like, say, having a long career and just, several albums out, kind of where do you get your inspiration lyrically or musically these days?
Well, that's a good question because there is a theme that runs throughout the whole album. And the theme really is, it's kind of us against them. It's kind of good versus evil. Mm-hmm. And we're firmly on the side of good. And if a person takes the time to read the lyrics, which are included on the album. So anyway, if someone checks out the lyrics, they'll know where we stand. There's nothing ambiguous about it. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of bands kind of have ambiguous lyrics, where you don't really know, wow, are they on the side, of evil or good? No, it's pretty clear. And so that's the theme of of this album is the struggle between good and evil.
Yeah.
And we have that in a song called The Greater Good, which is how people try to con you into thinking that things that they want you to do are for the greater good. So they use that catchphrase. Oh, we'll do it for the greater good, you know.
Yeah.
And there is no greater good. There's either good or there's evil.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I think we live in a very gray world now when it's almost bad to have, black or white. I don't mean that in a race way. I just mean black and whites and sort of absolutes are like a bad thing now, or it's bad to be totally on this side or that side. Everything's very gray. But sometimes you got to draw that line in the sand and say, no, I stand for this, or,
Exactly. And that's why, like in my personal life, I'm drawn to people that are good people. If someone is a great guy, then that's the kind of person I want to hang out with and talk to, because I've found that a lot of times, you are basically who sits at your campfire, who you let into your life, you let into your house, and so it's great, and I have some great friends, like Rhino, who's played drums, great drummer, and he played on the album. Then I have obviously Gene Cooper, the guy that I put these songs together with. Giles, who fantastic singer and really a nice guy and a very good force in this project, because he knew what he wanted from this album, and he knew how to go about steering us in that direction. And also people that have nothing to do with this album, like Mike LaPont, who you interviewed, I believe.
Yeah, just recently. He's really, really cool guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy, So those are the kind of people, that I like to, associate with. And of course, let me plug my fiance, Linda, who's great. And she's always there for me. And she's, it's really important because, there's a lot of relationships that are for the wrong reasons. And our relationship is based upon the right reasons, people that are helpful to each other, and people that are good people and that want to do good, because really at the end of the day, I mean, if we can do good on earth, that to me is the highest form of religion, being able to be a good person and to help others and so on.
Yeah, well, this is kind of a funny take on it, but I saw like a bumper sticker once or something that said, live your life so the preacher doesn't have to lie at your funeral, so.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's a good one. I remember that one.
So in terms of just music, this may be kind of a loaded question, but obviously it's very important to you. But what has it kind of meant to you throughout your life? Obviously, it's brought you good friends like people you just mentioned, Giles and Mike LaPont and others, but Rhino. But what has it meant to you otherwise throughout your life? I mean, I know for me, I mean, it's not just a passion. I mean, music has that power to invoke emotions. It can bring you to tears. It can give you that high because it's just a song that energizes you. It can bring about all those emotions in ways that for me nothing else can do. So for you, what has music meant throughout your life?
Well, for me, it's all of what you just mentioned, but also a place to go to when you need clarity, when you need to tune out all the noise that's all around you, because we're constantly being barraged by noise, whether it's television or radio or the internet or whatever. So you need a place sometimes where you can just pick up a guitar or a keyboard or whatever it is that you play and just go into that, because I really do believe it's a higher plane music. And probably, I mean, when Spielberg made that movie, Close Encounters, if we remember, they were communicating through musical notes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very astute of Spielberg to have that plot device, because it's something that probably could happen if there were contact with another civilization. They might be more attuned, no pun intended, attuned to music than if we handed them, a couple of books of Shakespeare or Hemingway, whatever.
Yeah.
A couple of musical notes might actually, hit them harder, make them, relate to us more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree, because I think music, I mean, it's ancient, right? I mean, it goes back to earliest civilizations had music and singers, and, you had your people that sang in the king's court and all that kind of stuff. And, you had drums. I mean, people communicating with drums, you'd hear the drums from over there. Oh, it's time for dinner or whatever it meant. But,
let there be drums,
Yeah. But then you think about, like, when people went into battle, who went first? Sometimes it was the drummers and musicians to pump them up going into battle. And then to me, that's kind of like, I think it's a perfect analogy for, like, heavy metal goes so well with that kind of imagery because of that,
You're right. You're definitely right. I didn't even think about the battle thing, but it's true. Yeah. Braveheart, weren't there guys playing drums, so on and so forth. So for me, music really, to put it in a nutshell, is just this great, mysterious other world that exists that I can access, and it's safe. It's not like the guy that wants to, take up crack smoking as a hobby. Make that your new hobby, but realize it's not a safe hobby.
Yeah.
You're going to go into some horrible places, and you're going to meet horrible people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was a weird analogy, but it was kind of, it outlines how that music, for the most part, it's a safe place to go to, and it's a comforting place,
Yeah. So you've had quite a few projects over the years. So is there one that you're most proud of, or one that sort of is for you maybe the most fun to play live, or?
Wow. Well, I'm going to say something that's kind of unusual, but like almost every album that I've done, I've really liked for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think playing live, I would like to play some of the stuff from the 80s, like No Turning Back,
Okay,
Blaze of Glory, and some of the stuff from 2000 and on, like the album Defiance, Land of the Dead,
mm-hmm.
Stand Your Ground, and Souls of the Innocent, which was the last Burning Starr album, which is a great album also. And of course my solo album, Out of the Darkness, Part 1, which was great. I mean, it had some amazing people on it, like Rhett Forster, who passed away, unfortunately, and Carl Kennedy on drums, and just a lot of really great people. And now we come to Out of the Darkness Part 2, which also has great people.
Yeah.
Amazing people, really, on the album. Giles is a fantastic singer, did a really, really great job. Rhino played great drums. Gene Cooper played great bass. Then we had 3 other guitar players also do guest stuff on it.
Okay.
Eric Juris, who plays in Warlord, played some great stuff, and played some of the solos on the album, and did a lot of the second guitar parts. The engineer or the co-engineer for the album, Thomas Mergler, also played guitar on the album. Thomas Mergler played with Paul Di'Anno from Iron Maiden.
Sure.
Great guitar player. And just a lot of really good people lended their talents to the album. And as far as other drummers, I mean, we had Mark Zonder, who played on a cut. And Mark Zonder, was one of the greatest drummers. Him and Rhino are probably, some of the greatest drummers out there. And Jimmy Waldo played keyboards, and then I had a local guy play keyboards as well. Rick Yerkes, who's a great keyboard player, and I don't know, he's like one of the best that I've heard, on any level, local or not local. And so I was really fortunate, to find, because really you're only as good as your team. I mean, these guys will walk around with huge inflated egos. I don't need anyone. I'm going to do everything myself. Most of the time, it's really not that great,
Yeah.
I'd rather be the guy that says, "Hey, listen, I need a strong team because I can't do everything, and I would be honored if you would lend your talents for this project."
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I think is really cool, because when I set up this interview with you, I just finished doing one with Mike LaPond. I've also talked to Mark Zonder. I've also talked to Todd Michael Hall, who's worked with you. So all these guys have connections to you. But one thing I see in common with all of you is you're all like easygoing, no drama, just in it for the love of music kind of guys, which I think is awesome.
It's true, and Todd is a great singer, and he could, have an ego with how things have panned out for him, but he really doesn't. He's very down to earth, and great guy. And same thing with Giles. I mean, Giles has become kind of like the go-to singer at this point. I'm happy that he's really solidly behind this album and wants to make it reach the next level, which I believe we will. But what you said is true, and Rhino, it's really one of the heaviest hitting, great drummer.
Yeah.
No ego whatsoever, and it's wonderful that he is like that. So I think it's great. And, and let's face it, in this business, you're either Billy Joel or you're not. And that's the way, you're either going to have a wall full of platinum albums and be making ungodly amounts of money.
Yeah.
Or you're not. And it's, so if you're not, to walk around like you have done this incredible thing, it's kind of like silly. It really is. I mean, and in metal, you could count maybe on two hands how many people have really made serious money playing metal, and that would be Metallica and Maiden.
Yeah.
And then Metallica and Maiden. And then Metallica and Maiden and everybody else, I'm not saying that you can't make money doing this. You can, but, it's not to that level where you're going to, be driving a Ferrari and living in the Hollywood Hills and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It just isn't that way. Maybe it was that way to a certain degree in the 80s when Motley Crue, was really big, and so on and so forth. But right now, it really isn't. Now, and I think it's kind of good in a way because it's made it's filtered out the wannabes from people that are in it because they love music.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree. And I think too, like stylistically with the more traditional pure metal, whatever you want to call it, even in the 80s, that didn't get to the level of all the glam metal or hair metal or whatever. It was always the pure metal, traditional metal stuff was always kind of a bit underground as it was.
Exactly.
And, never was at the level of those other bands. But, the people playing it are playing it because they love it. It's, they're just playing what comes out of them naturally. It's what they want to play. They're not, selling out and going commercial or doing whatever to try and sell records or putting on Aquanet and pink spandex to sell more records or whatever,
Yeah. Like Brave Words didn't, they didn't say, you've got to do this kind of music, Jack.
Yeah.
They said basically, and Giles said the same thing. Give us what you do. Be yourself. Which was great, and I appreciated that kind of of confidence,
Yeah.
showing me that level of confidence,
Well, that kind of leads into a question I've started asking the last few interviews, but what do you think makes the heavy metal kind of hard rock community unique versus maybe other genres?
Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I think one of it is the camaraderie that exists between metal fans.
Yeah.
It's like we all know that we're part of something that's kind of underground, that's never really been accepted by the mainstream, except maybe for a very brief period around 1987.
Yeah.
Or 88, I don't know. And so aside from that year or two, it's really underground, and I think that we respect each other for that.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing but respect for any band that's out there now, touring, and some bands that tour under really adverse conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Some bands tour better conditions. They actually have a tour bus, as opposed to, I don't know, like a little van or something. You know what I mean?
Whole U-Haul with them, yeah.
U-Haul, and even if you have a tour bus, that's still not like an incredible thing. It's not like Mick Jagger getting into his private jet,
Sure.
with a chef on board that's gonna prepare Mick's favorite meals while they're up in the air going to their next gig that pays $500,000.
Sure.
So it's that camaraderie, and it's that it's knowing that you're part of almost like a secret society.
Yeah.
You're playing. There should be like a secret handshake. Like like on The Simpsons. The Stone Cutters. I don't know if you remember that from The Simpsons, but anyway, it was supposed to be like like a secret society that Homer Simpson was in there.
Well, I feel like we kind of had our secret sign, if you will, thanks to Ronnie James for a few years, but now that's just been usurped by like everybody, and you see like pop stars doing it. So kind of lost its meaning a little bit, but
yeah, but it's all good, and so my feeling is I want to be as supportive as I can to other musicians, other metal musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope they'll be as supportive to me, and they have been so far. So I think a lot of times it's like you get what you put out.
Sure.
And like I'll give you a case in point. I'm going to go see the singer of Burning Starr tomorrow. He's doing a gig near my house.
Okay.
With his other band. I think he has like 3 bands. I think one of them is called Vigil Hunter, Hidden.
Oh yeah, I've got the Hidden CD, the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like I totally get that. And if we do, if Burning Starr starts doing gigs again, he would be available. But right now, my focus is on the Jack Starr solo album,
Sure.
And I want to bring that to life. And I think that Giles is the right guy to do that. He sang on it, and he can duplicate it.
Yeah.
It's not like there's no like studio trickery with Giles. He just like with Rhett Forrester. Rhett Forrester, there was no studio trickery. He'd go in there and like 3 or 4 takes later, he nailed it.
Yeah, I have to agree. My introduction to him was the Born in America album.
Right.
Because Riot was another one of those bands that was always sort of just under the radar. They never quite broke, but they're just consistently been a killer band. Even the newest incarnation is killer. But yeah, my introduction was Born in America, and man, Rhett's voice on that album, I love that album.
Oh yeah, that was a wonderful album. He just has that powerful, gruffy voice. There's some, I don't know, like it's kind of like whiskey throated. Like. I read that in a Leonard Skinner review once about the singer. It's got that sound of like hard living, hard drinking, and Red had that, and he also had some pretty good notes. He could go up there too.
Yeah.
So good. And Giles has that. And I've been fortunate. I've worked with a lot of great singers,
Yeah, that's for sure. Obviously, 40 plus years playing music, 50 plus years playing music. You've probably played all over the world, as you mentioned earlier. You played in Europe, you played all kinds of places, Japan. But is there sort of a favorite gig or a favorite place you like to play, or a gig that stands out from all those years?
Well, I really like to play everywhere in Europe. I mean, Greece was great. We played there last year. Uh, Manolis, the promoter of the Up the Hammers, was great. He was very supportive. We headlined on Saturday, but it was like 3 days, and it was great. It was great meeting, fans, and a lot of them came, from different parts of Greece or Italy, or they would bring like a basket with 15 albums that I had done, and it was like, whoa, I was pretty impressed, and I autographed and signed everything, and met everyone, and just I took time to really because it's not a chore for me. Anybody that has supported me throughout the years, it's really something that I'm very, very happy about, and something that I'm proud about, and so I think it's a wonderful thing that that kind of loyalty exists. Yeah.
I do think, yeah, going back to our earlier question, I think that's one thing with the metal fans, like you said, besides sort of like this, bond we have with this underground thing we're all into. I think it's, it's just that passion, that, I mean, all that stuff wrapped up in that. And the fact that most metal bands I've met, a lot of times are like, don't meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. But I will say most of the metal guys that I've had the privilege of meeting over the years have been awesome, willing to stand there and talk with you, whatever, we're all into this thing and we like talking about it. So
yeah, you know what? I totally agree with you. Like 98% of guys that I've met, that I listened to at some point in my life, have been great, been really nice, and probably the 2% that weren't nice, maybe I caught them on a bad day or whatever, because I don't want to judge someone by, if they acted like, less than desirable, and some of the people that people said, oh, this guy's going to be a real jerk or whatever. You meet them and they're like really nice,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, agree. I've had a couple of those too, where it's like, oh, I'm going to meet this person. Everybody said don't meet him, and then I met him, and I'm like, hey, he was super cool. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I love really about the metal scene, like what you were talking about before, is that whole like secret society, that camaraderie. I say that jokingly, like I don't want to say that too seriously, because idiots will think, yeah, see, I knew it. Those metal guys, they have a secret in a society, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like it's underground,
Sure.
And maybe one day it'll come back out for a year or two, like it did in 1988, that would be great,
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool, like you say, in 87, 88, when Headbangers Ball was getting really big, and it's like, okay, they're actually playing some heavier, not the glam stuff on Headbangers Ball, and
Right.
playing Metal Church on there, and they're playing things like that. And you're like, okay, this is kind of cool, But
Yeah, absolutely.
there's so many people I've said, if you would just give metal a chance, you'd probably like it, but people can't get past the imagery or what they think it sounds like or whatever. But it's like, then they hear it and it's like, oh, that's more melodic than I thought, or whatever. So
right, and that's also how some metal bands kind of get in the door. They'll put out a really melodic kind of ballady kind of song, and then presto, you get More Than a Feeling. I mean, not More Than a Feeling. The other one by Extreme.
More Than Words.
More Than Words. Sorry, yeah.
Which is funny because that's such a great album. I love that album, and that song is really not representative of the rest of the album at all. But but it did what it needed to do for him, I guess. It got him all over MTV and everything, all over FM radio. But
yeah, and it's funny because a friend of mine said, you got to check out that album, the Extreme album, and I was like, oh, it's a little too syrupy for me, blah blah blah. And my friend goes, no, you really got to check it out. They got a guy that can play really good guitar on it, Nuno. And so I went out and I bought it, and I loved it, just like exactly what you said. And we even have one ballad actually on our album, which, hold on, let me hold it up.
Yeah.
I got a little thing.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the album. Okay. And there is one ballad on the album. The ballad is called Velvet Skies. And I was really trying to write a song similar a little bit to maybe Purple Rain by Prince, or just that kind of intensity, but yet mellow at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of guilty of what I just talked about, trying to get in the car with a ballad.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, there are some really good ballads over the years, I will admit. I mean, I always talk about this one. I think when Dokken wrote Alone Again on Tooth and Nail,
I love
that song, To me, it's just got so much feeling, and it didn't take away from the fact the rest of the album was, had some heavier songs on it, really driving stuff, but that's just such a good ballad,
One of the guys that actually played on this album played the acoustic guitar on the ballad, and he also played with Don Dokken.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, Kevin Burns.
Okay, very cool.
He did an album which has yet to come out. I don't know if it ever will, but he did a full album with Don Dokken.
Okay.
And, so just a little aside.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like I said, there was 3 guitar players that played on it besides myself. So he was the third guy.
Okay. Over the years, have you had any challenges just trying to balance, personal life with the music career, or being on the road here and there and gone, and, trying to keep things normal at home as much as possible?
Well, music is a cruel mistress. Like they say, the ocean, the sea is a cruel mistress. It's hard, but it's hard, and I had to grow into it, to realize that there's got to be more to life than just, playing music, playing your guitar. At the end of the day, you have to put things in perspective, So, yes, it's been a tough balancing act, and I mean, if I had to do it over again, I probably would change a couple of things, Sure. And but overall, I could have done a lot worse. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So and I think that I mean, I think I made some good music, and I'm continuing to do it, and I'm just glad that there's an audience out there for this. It's great. I mean, really, how many guys my age are putting out albums? Not that many. Right. I still have that wonderful audience out there. I mean, I get emails like every day from people all over the world. Sometimes, I mean, I'll just break into a smile, like okay, like get a letter from Transylvania, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm Transylvania. There's people that listen to metal that have actually, heard of me, or like, like, I don't know, emails and from like Siberia,
yeah,
Ukraine, just like these little places that you would never think have metal fans, or if they did have metal fans, that they would only know about Iron Maiden, and Saxon. So getting like an email and like from like, I don't know, Transylvania or South Africa, and asking me like really specific questions like, oh, what was the song Sands of Time really about on your Land of the Dead album? And I'm going, wait a minute. that album was not even released in Japan, or well, in the case of Land of the Dead, I wasn't released, but I'll get like emails, from like, so I'm really blessed to have this kind of connection.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. I think the thing you never really know is how far reaching your music goes, especially with the internet, because, it's one thing when it was the 80s and you physically had to go to the store and buy it.
right.
But now, I mean, music can be around the world. If there's an internet connection, they can hear it. And, the fact that you don't know lives that you're touching or having a positive impact on all over the world,
It's true, and I first got a taste of that in 1981 when we put out Virgin Steel 1. Got a letter. Back then, people were actually writing letters. So I got a letter in the Virgin Steel post office box, the fan club, and it was from a girl in South Africa.
Wow.
And I think she was like 14 or 15 at the time. But it really touched me because it was like, the letter was pretty much starts off with, Jack Starr, thank you so much for making great music and all that. And my name is such and such. And I hate my life because I live in this crappy country, and we have apartheid, and my family is white and we're privileged and everything, but there's so many barriers and so much hatred and animosity between the races that it's so great for me to be able to go upstairs to my room and listen to your album and go into another world when I listen to your album. And, and that to me impacted me quite a bit reading that. And it was like, wow, I had that kind of power, and I didn't, realize it. And even if she was the only person in South Africa, I don't think she was, but let's say she was, that had listened, to the album, it would still be an accomplishment. I would have been like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. Any other hobbies or interests or things you kind of do for fun or to blow off steam? Or
well, actually, lately, besides, the usual, taking long walks on the beach, going out to restaurants, I've also enjoy, my fiance Linda is really great at gardening and landscaping and doing all this stuff. And I've really started to become interested in that as well. And I find it extremely relaxing to do that. And one of the things that I want to do, it's kind of on my to-do list. I want to really learn how to be a better swimmer. It was like, I don't know, for whatever reason, never really got into swimming when I was a kid. And I live in Florida. We're surrounded by water and swimming pools. And so, I've been getting into that and really just and reading. Here, I'll tell you what I'm reading. I bought this book today.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
Pete Townsend wrote a book. I was in this store today, and they had it kind of discount, and I said, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna read it. I've always been kind of like an avid reader, so I would say that swimming, gardening. I would like to take up golf too. At some point, maybe I'll be able to play Alice Cooper one day.
There you go. Exactly.
He's probably great though at this point. I think he's been doing it for like 40 years.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool because when he's on tour, he makes time for golf. So he's played here. I'm near Peoria, Illinois. And he's played here probably his last 2 or 3 tours. But there's a golf course near here that's kind of popular, and he's gone there golfing when he's in town for his show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good, and I would love one day to get out to Illinois, in Chicago. I mean, one of my Facebook friends that I communicate with, David Schenkel.
Oh yeah.
Yep. He lives in great guitar player, nice guy. So yeah, there's and we actually did play in Chicago, by the way.
Yeah.
Burning Starr did a show at a place called was right by Wrigley Field.
Was it the Metro?
The Metro Cabaret.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been there for one show, but yeah.
Yeah. Is it still around? I don't even know.
It is. Yeah. I just was checking them out recently. I kind of go on every once in a while just to see who's playing in the Chicago area, if there's anything I want to see. But yeah, they're still going.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was great. And there's a lot of metalheads in Chicago. I think if we, they used to have that place called, was it the Thirsty Whale? Yeah. I don't know. Is that still around?
No, that's gone. That probably went away sometime in the, I don't know if it was 90s or 2000, but it's been gone for quite a while. But that was like the place known for being like the metal club or whatever.
Yeah. But the Metro was great. And I'll tell you a real quick, funny story. I mean, we got off the plane and our bass player had one of these ghetto blasters on his shoulder. And we were coming out of the plane. Back then, you could actually leave the plane, go down like a big stairway.
Yeah.
And so he has this thing, and I hear one of our songs on, and I go, can you like shut the cassette off? We're landing, we're going in now. He goes, Jack, it's not the cassette. They're playing us on like the big station out here.
Really?
In Chicago, yeah. So I go, oh, wow. So that was like such a cool thing, Yeah. We arrive in this town, and so I realized that there must have been some metalheads, and I think we were getting played on Zrock. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, because that was syndicated, I think, and carried on some station in Chicago.
It was, yeah. So that's where I think that's what we were listening to.
Okay.
Chicago.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Zrock because my grandmother lived in Joliet, Illinois, which was, 40 minutes from Chicago. And so when we'd go to visit her, I could pick up Zrock on the radio. I couldn't pick it up clear down here where I live, but I could pick it up there. So first time I heard Grim Reaper, first time I heard Halloween, Man of War, it was all Zrock introducing me to those bands,
Yeah, and I even played live on Zrock. I just thought it would be cool to play a live guitar solo. So and this was in Dallas where I think it's Dallas or Houston, but I think it was Dallas where their headquarters were. So I went down there and I did some interviews and we played in Texas. And then I told the DJ Mad Max, great name for a DJ,
right.
Mad Max Hammer. I said, would it be cool if I brought my guitar and a little amp and maybe just did like a spontaneous, eruption kind of thing, on the guitar? And he goes, yeah, because no one's done that yet, man. Go for it. So I did that, and it kind of was a cool little thing. And from what I understand, a month later, Dimebag Darrell got interviewed, and he did a little spontaneous solo as well.
Nice.
And so it almost became like a thing to do for guitar players. But I think I was the first.
That's very cool. Yeah, Zrock, like I said, that brings back memories.
It was an incredible station, and they would play us. I mean, we made their top 10 list like a bunch of times, So, it's those kind of like little victories that even if you don't like have a platinum album or whatever, or make a boatload of money, it doesn't matter because you're getting these little victories, like being number 8 on Zrock, and it was like, okay, I like that. Or being, number 3 on New Musical Express import albums from America. Or being endorsed by like ESP Guitars.
Mm-hmm.
I was like one of the very first people that got endorsed. So you get all these like little victories, and and you get enough of them, and you start thinking, you know what, this isn't so bad, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe in my next lifetime, I'll have the platinum albums, but I still made a nice name for myself and a nice dent in the metal world.
Well, it's funny because I told a friend of mine that I was going to be interviewing you, and I said something about Jack Starr, and he kind of looked at me and I said, he's like, wait a minute. He goes, is that Burning Star? Same? And I said, yeah, same guy. So he'd heard of Burning Star, and when I mentioned your name, he knew.
Well, that makes me feel great because I want people to know the stuff that I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff, I believe it really is.
Well, that's really part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is, I want to help promote people who I think have either gone under the radar and don't get enough attention, or just have been consistently putting good stuff out, and people need to hear about them. So
Exactly, and I appreciate
because there's so many guys I know that were like metal fans in high school, like me, but then they didn't really follow it after high school. They're like, oh, so and so's still around. I'm like, yeah, you missed out on 20 albums. They're still around,
Exactly.
So,
you mean Saxon did an album after Denim and Leather?
Right, exactly.
Wheels of Steel. But yeah, about 20 albums.
Yeah.
You mean Jack Starr actually kept making albums? And it's the same, same concept. Warlord.
Yeah.
They're making albums. Riot. They're making albums, and it's great, and great albums too.
Yeah. Well, Jack, thank you so much. This has been really a lot of fun for me. I hope you had a good time too.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for having me on.
You bet.
I appreciate it.